Pedro from A&P-Reacts. I'm here today with Chris of Lord of the Lost to talk about the upcoming record, Judas, out July 2nd on Napalm Records. How's it going?
Fine, and I'm really happy to be here because we as a band, we're following your channel for a while and seeing your reactions, and it's just awesome to see. It was like I don't know which one was the first. Was it La Bomba? Maybe.
No. We did one before that, but I can't even remember. It's been like maybe 2 years, 3 years since we've discovered you guys.
Yeah, but I definitely remember you and your son reacting to La Bomba. It was
Oh, yeah.
just so incredibly entertaining to look at you while you were watching the video, commenting on it, and all your thoughts and like this, what the fuck is going on moments that you had was just wonderful. I loved it.
We get a lot of those moments watching your videos. There's never like a sense of simplicity to them. There's always a little bit more, like it's like an onion. There's always layers that we need to peel in order to get to the bottom of what's happening.
Yeah, otherwise it would be pretty boring. You know, I always want, I don't know, maybe it's getting boring for people that there's always something behind it, which you can find as Easter eggs or whatever. But for me, when I'm watching music videos and it's just like a plain, you go there from the start till the end and there's nothing to discover, for me, it's kind of boring. And this world, this multi-medial world today gives you so much opportunities to do that. And I sometimes don't understand why bands don't use that opportunity.
I think you have to look at art form as more than just the music itself. I think you have to incorporate the video and everything that goes with it, like the artwork on an album. All of that is part of that art experience and your own personal expression. So that's how I look at it. And I really appreciate
Yep.
what you guys do, because you kind of take that same approach with everything that you do. And this upcoming album, Judas, is a perfect example of that.
Thanks. Yeah. So,
So
uh,
let's get right into it. I mean, I have so many things to ask you about this album. Since I got it, I haven't really been able to put it down.
yeah.
It's just a magnificent album all around. But the first question that I have for you is, when did this idea come across? Like, when did you start thinking about it? Because there's a lot to this record. It doesn't seem like something that was just very spontaneous, like in the moment. It looks like there was a lot of work leading up to the final result.
Yes, that's true. Though the start of it was super weird. It's like it goes years back with the second Lady Gaga album. There's a song called Judas. And I listened, I think it was 2014, and I listened to that song back then. I was like, wow, that's a strong word. I just discovered that I really like that word. And I think as an artist, you stumble across words which kind of inspire you. Sometimes just one word and you write it down and you get like an entire idea about like lyrics for a song or a music video, whatever, just because you read that one word or you watch a movie and some of the actors say something, you're like, what the fuck? That's wow, that's an inspiring term. And I just thought it's a very, very strong word. And I left it there for a while and did nothing with it. And then I stumbled across I stumbled over some documentaries about this lost gospel of Judas, which is part of the apocryphic scripts that got forbidden by the Catholic Church. And that kind of made me curious, because when something's forbidden by the church, I'm like, oh, I think I want to read that. So there must be a reason for it to yeah, you know, to forbid it. And so I started digging, and then I started digging the whole Judas theme and the whole character. So if you pretend for a second that this is history and not just some stuff from the Bible, it made me think like, what happened back then? Is all of this an act of friendship, much more than an act of treason? Saying, hey, Judas, you have to do this for me so I can die on the cross for the sins of the people. And then we have crucifixion and the whole Christian mythology, and everyone can go like, woo, and we sell like billions of crosses as merchandise and get super rich. But you go to hell because you do treason on me, and I go to my Father up to heaven. Yeah, let's do that. And Judas was like, yeah, man, let's do that. I'm gonna go to hell for you. And it's not treason. That's like the biggest act of friendship. I mean, that's what I just did here is comedy, of course. But if you look at it that way, then suddenly how you perceive the character of Judas becomes something very different. It's a little like Batman when he's like the scapegoat for Gotham, but he didn't even do the bad thing, you know. And this kept me thinking, and I told the guys about it. I remember being on holiday at the Baltic Sea and scribbling around with a piece of paper, looking at the sea, and suddenly came up with that symbol, which on first view, it's just an inverted cross, which society sees as something bad at first place. It's an inverted cross. Oh, that's evil. If you look closer, it's a J for Judas. So you have the second layer to it as well. So I told the guys, hey, I have this idea for a concept, maybe. Let's start working on that. And this is when we start digging like very deep and reading analysis and going in the story, and got like interested for the character of Judas.
That was going to be my next question is how much research did you have to do for this album?
Actually, zero, because you can do an album like that with zero knowledge or something, because we didn't try to be like true to what's in the Bible or something, or being like historically or religious historically correct. But we were interested in trying to see all points of views. So what we started, especially our guitar player Pi and I, what we started was on the European tour in early 2020. Each night on the nightliner on the tour bus, when everyone was drinking beer, we were sitting there like students, starting with the 4 Gospels in the Bible, then going on to the forbidden Gospel of Judas, and then going through different sheets of paper, like analysis from philosophic documents, blah, 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 from a theology professor, which helped us like researching to see like different points of views through history about the character of Judas, also how other religions or religious leader see the story. So that was mainly for us to get different ideas and kind of explore this huge gray area between the 2 poles of Judas the traitor and Judas the savior or the martyr. And so this is what we did, just to get at the bigger picture here, and to evolve our own picture, and also to find like interesting words and sentences. So we sat there and like, oh, that's interesting, we wrote it down. So we had like this huge catalog of words and lines which made us inspired, which we took then finally into the songwriting camp, to not start with nothing, to at least start with something like, we need a song that goes in this direction, and this direction, this direction. So we kind of have the field here. And the thing is, it's not an album which you need to listen to the beginning till the end, which tells like a boring concept story, like Judas does that, then he does that, then he does that. It's not about that at all. It's just like using the imagery of this character to say different kind of things and to express our very own humanity, the things that makes us human, and which makes us so much like a Judas ourselves, to kind of reflect that into the songs. So if you find a love song on that record, it can also be a song about brotherhood and about what was the connection between Judas Christ, between Jesus Christ and Judas Iscariot. So it's more about like the imagery of the bigger picture which we have here. We don't try to tell the story of the Bible, or we don't try to be religious or anti-religious. It's more like a philosophic thing for us.
Without trying to get too religious with you, but it's kind of impossible not to when you're talking about Judas. But without, I don't want to go too deep into the religion side of things. But me personally, since an early age, I was raised Catholic. I never really bought into the story of Judas. It just didn't really make sense to me. There was a lot of flaws in the story that was put forward. I always saw him as if you want to be, if you're Jesus and you know you're the path that you have to take, the best person to help you get there is your closest friend, because he's not going to say no to you. So I always saw Judas as misunderstood by the other apostles, and that's why he's portrayed the way he is in the Bible, but being a much different person towards Jesus and the relationship that the 2 of them had. So do you feel like your opinions perhaps about Judas has changed, or you kind of had a neutral opinion about him coming into this record?
even more interesting, I did not change my opinion. I kind of made my horizon bigger towards that, because I have read so many things and I have put so much thought into that I don't think there's just one part of the story. And I totally agree with you that if I have to decide for something, I would totally see it like you, not like he's just a trader and that's it. But there's also so many different other perceptions. Like it always depends on which gospel you're looking to and which translation of the Bible and blah blah blah. So there's so many versions of the Bible anyway. And there's also a theory that says maybe even Judas and Jesus switched places. So
Oh,
which
wow,
makes,
that I've never heard of that.
yeah, which makes it super interesting. Like this whole Jesus is alive thing might be actually, from that point of view, true in a way, you know. And there's so many different versions of how Judas actually died. Not all of them say like he killed himself in the field of blood, or died of this water sickness. Others say that this and this and this. So there's like so many different also flaws in the different translations, which lead to so many versions. And it's interesting to see that the versions that actually um, find their part in the Bible are mostly the versions which make Judas like a very bad person. So because maybe society needed that scapegoat, you know?
I think when you're writing a book, because that's at the end of the day what the Bible is, right? You have a hero, you have to
Yeah,
have the anti-hero, right?
yeah,
So
totally.
I think the power of the imagery of the crucifixion of Jesus, it's not the same without that betrayal. That betrayal elevates, it makes the climax even more climatic, if you will.
Yes, of course. If you have Thor, you need Loki, and the other way around. So
Yeah.
otherwise, it would be even more boring. And let's be honest here, the Bible is not like the most interesting book. So there's like super
There's not
interesting
there's not a lot of
parts.
pictures. There's not a
Yeah,
lot of pictures in it.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
There's not a lot of pictures. Yeah.
what was the most difficult aspect for you guys from the time you start to think about this concept, for the time you start to work on it? What was the most challenging aspect to take the idea that you had in your brain and start to make it reality?
Actually, it kind of went very well, because when we are on fire for for an idea, then it's not really hard for us to pull it off. The whole production was a big challenge, like production wise, and because of like the instruments we choose and how we recorded them. We can go to that later. But actually, as soon as we kind of knew what it was about and how we want to take the approach, like not doing a boring story from start to end, so more like having this overall feeling of Judas kind of leading us in a certain direction, it wasn't hard at all. It was a lot of fun, to be honest. And let's keep it real here. We had a lot of time last year, so
Yeah, that is true. You did have perhaps this was the right time for this record when you consider all the dynamics around it, with you guys not being able to tour, not being able to play shows.
yeah, that's the reason why it's a double album. Otherwise, we wouldn't have done that. So otherwise, there wouldn't have been time to do that. But we said, hey, we have the time now. It's the seventh album. Why not just do it? Why not do a double record? We have the time.
I know that you said already that the album doesn't follow a path. It doesn't have like a story that starts with the first song from a concept perspective. That in
No, you can. It kind of makes sense, but you don't necessarily have to, because maybe I said that wrong, because um, we leave lyrics like that open all the time that you can pick them out separately. Then you don't. It's not like telling, like it's not explaining a story, from chapter to chapter. If you listen to it, it kind of evolves in a certain kind of direction from start till end. You can see a story in it, or your own version of a story. This is what we wanted. We also wanted people to find their own version for it, but you don't have to do that. You can pick out one song and it makes sense as a standalone song, even by leaving the concept of Judas, and because you understand the lyrics totally different.
Mhm. So when you look at it from that perspective, and what you said is really interesting. You hope that people take their own take on what you're saying. You're not trying to force your views on the audience, you're kind of giving some food for thought, and then let the audience go where they might. Are
Yeah.
you hoping that that's going to be the end result, that people will take something away from this album in the character, in the person of Judas, that perhaps they never really thought about it before?
Also, yes, but I'm also super happy if someone just says, yeah, there's a new album, I just love their melodies, or I just want to bang to the music, or others say like, hey, I just find the guitar player super cute. You know, the thing is, what I have accepted after so many years of doing music, you cannot tell people how they are entertained by what you're doing, and you should not be disappointed if not everyone is that much into a topic or a complex concept as you are as an artist. That's maybe like, I don't know, 1, 2, 3% which really are so interested in that. Others open Spotify, they're like, this new track, yeah, I totally dig that. Oh, then they go to the next one, you know, and that's totally fine. And if some people just go to the shows because they say, there's a lot of sweaty naked skin, let's go there, I love it. Okay, you know, if it's fine, we are there to entertain people, and if they want to dig deep, they can, but they don't have to. But if someone, if this is like kind of a mind opener for some people, then I'm super happy, of course.
The first thing that caught me when I started listening to the album, even before I press play, is I look at the two discs, and you have CD1 Damnation, you have CD2 Salvation, and I was like, wow, this is a really interesting take. Are we getting here the two faces, or the two sides of Judas' character? Not necessarily his personality, but perhaps how people perceive him. Was that your take on that, or is
A
there?
little, yes. We tried. Okay, to be honest here, in first place, we didn't want that. We just wanted to do like 24 songs and have like one, like suspension building up like once. And then you go like, okay, fuck, there's 24 songs, and unless you're a grindcore band, you can't put 24 songs on one CD. It's limited by time, by 72 minutes. So we were like, okay, we have to do it. We have to put it on 2 CDs. And that gave us a chance to create this, what we call a movie for the ears. You know, we wanted this Lord of the Rings feeling, like you go there with like a 3 hours movie or something. In the middle, you have that break where you can go to the fridge and get another drink. And then you go pee, you come back, and then it's getting like exciting again. And then we thought it must make some kind of sense. We do not want to just mix those songs like, let's put them on CD1, let's put them on CD2. That's it. It should have made sense. So we came up with a number 12 2 times, which kind of make also sense in biblical aspects. And then we were like, okay, we have this two sides, these two extremes of Judas. Judas the savior slash martyr, and Judas the traitor slash villain. And we have this gray area in between. So why don't we start like what we feel darkest about the character, and we slightly get brighter and brighter and kind of point out more the positive aspects, more the aspects about friendship and being like misunderstood and blah blah blah, and ended with this work of salvation in the very end. So this is why we gave these two records two faces. But it's not just pointing out bad and good or whatever. It's more like a whole dynamic to the 24 songs, and what you see with the words damnation, salvation, and also the different covers of the CDs. It's the borders on the very left and the very right of the picture.
Yeah, the yin and the yang. It kind of has a little bit of that vibe.
Yes. So from start to end, you have this kind of metamorphosis where you start with, okay, there you go, it's Judas. It's an album about a bad person. In the end, you go like, what happened here? He feels so close to me, more like my friend. So, and I don't want to let him go, you know.
I think there's a little bit of Judas in all of us, and I
Totally.
think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people gravitate to the character, to the person.
Yeah, this is why it fascinated me in first place. It shows so much. It's like it's one of the most human characters to me in the whole in the whole Bible story. Yeah, totally.
After I wrap my head around CD1, the name of CD1 and the name of CD2, the next thing that I noticed is what you mentioned already. Each CD has 12 tracks. There's 12 apostles, so I thought that was a really it was a really nice touch. And then I felt, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is the impression that I got, that CD1 is almost an identical image of CD2 as far as the fluidity of the tracks are concerned. I saw, or I felt, a lot of similarities in terms of how the songs are constructed on disc 1, and then the mirror image onto disc 2. The main difference that I found was the atmosphere was changing in disc 2. I felt like disc 1 was a lot darker, disc 2 is a lot brighter. But when I look at the songs and I go from one song to the next on one disc and the other, there's a lot of similarities. Do you see
Yes.
it that way, or am I just seeing things where they don't exist?
No, this is true. We didn't overdo that, because otherwise you destroy the songs, because you try to make matches which do not work. But we try to give it the same kind of feeling. Yes, it's just like changing your glasses and like, oops, it's a different color, but it's the same feeling. And yes, you say brighter. For the second one, I'd also say the second one, Salvation, has a lot more 80s in it. We totally love that 80s approach in our songs with those drum sounds and stuff.
I noticed that a lot. The drum sounds on that second disc were slightly different. They had more of that. I was going to say Fine Young Cannibals style drum sound, which is pretty much 80s approach. Yeah. And I really dig that. One interesting thing I wanted to tell you is that listening to the two discs, I'm a bigger fan of disc 1, but my favorite songs are in disc 2. Does that make sense? Like, if I have to pick individual tracks, I like the tracks on disc 2. But if I want to listen to the record, perhaps the atmosphere that the record creates, I like the darkness of disc 1. So I'm having a hard time dealing with this. Like, how can I like one disc more than the other? And my favorite songs are on disc 2.
It's interesting that you say that, because I mean, apart from the fact that taste is different and any other person might see it the other way around or whatever, it's interesting because I have a little similar feeling, but I wouldn't call them more favorite tracks. But I'd say the overall feeling of disc 1 is more solid, more consistent. It's more like you're staying in this one film, in this one lane. And disc 2 has more songs that kind of stand out for different reasons. Yeah. I understand the point.
Yeah, it was kind of hard for me. Like, I already recorded my review. I haven't posted it yet, but it was hard for me to explain that, because when I'm picking my favorite tracks on the album, they're on disc 2. But the disc that kind of brings something really strange from within me is disc 1. So it's not like I like one more than I like the other. I just get different things out of both of them.
That's good. That's actually good. I mean, it would be very boring if you have listened to disc 1 and then you put in disc 2 and it's like, okay, it's the same thing. Just, I know it already. Yeah, I like it.
I can see that. Now, the lyrics on this album are phenomenal. Like, I felt like I was listening to the lyrics and I wasn't really sure if you were trying to tell me something or if you were trying to make me think about something. But some of them really made me stop and in the middle of the track and go back and re-listen to it, because of what you were saying felt sometimes even a little bit personal. It felt like it was coming from a deep place within you. How did you approach the lyrical content for both of these discs?
It's so hard to answer, because I don't think that we really approached it. It sounds so easy, and it sounds like an excuse now to say that, but we really just did what felt right. There was we didn't try to really conceive it, apart from the fact that we were like collecting words and different sentences, like in the very beginning, to get inspired by, and we had things that we really wanted to use, like a track like Born with a Broken Heart, for instance. The first thing that was there for that track was just a song title, because I liked it so much. Like a person as like Judas, if you believe in fate, and if you believe in that everything has been written before, if a man's future is written before, then Judas was the person that was already born with this broken heart, just having to wait for the right time to recognize it. So some lyrics were born just because of that, but apart from that, there was not really an approach. We just went there in the feeling, and it was very different. Some of the lyrics were done like within half an hour. When we did the songwriting camp where we were writing all the music, we took like 1 week for it, like it worked in different groups with our live and studio crew all together, 2-3 people in each group. Some of them took some months to evolve. So they just had some words and then some gibberish, which is just phonetic English, which just gives you an idea of the melody and the feeling, which always sounds very funny when I sing that. Yeah, and you, but it's so much better than na 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 na, because it's kind of annoying.
Yeah.
And so it really took a while, and then it was mainly me and Pi doing the lyrics. And then I have this wonderful co-writer from England called Anthony, who I'm doing lots of lyrics together with for many bands already, like, I don't know, more than 100, 150 songs. And he is this amazing wordsmith, which can come up with things I cannot, because the English that I speak is just stupid school English. I've never been more than 2 weeks to any country to learn it or something. So everything that I know from films or the dictionary or from school. And when you have a person like that, which comes up with that kind of magic, and the lyrics are still 90% the same, but some words just get exchanged, and there's a whole lot of magic to it. It's just wonderful. So yeah, this goes for the lyrics, but there was no approach. We really just did what felt right, which showed, I mean, it worked. So it showed that we choose the right topic for us, because we really love to do that.
Well, from a lyrical perspective, was this album more difficult than previous records, or as in previous records, you guys kind of follow the same format?
No, like the last two previous records were kind of like the same of complexity, because we on Thornstar we had also had this mythological topic, and on Empyrean we had this out of space, mankind finds a new home on another planet kind of topic. So the whole imagery changes, and we were like, we were only allowed to move within certain kind of borders. This time we had to use the imagery of Judas, for the other one of the Thornstar world, blah, 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 and so on. So it's like, for instance, you write a love song. On a Judas album, it needs to be a song about brotherhood. So you can also like reflect on Jesus Christ and Judas Iscariot. If you write a love song for an out of space kind of concept, then you write a song about, I don't know, a dying star and his moon, you know? So the topic is the same. You just change the words and the tools. So we are used to doing that. And it's more fun for us to do that. Of course, at first place, you limit yourself. So you don't have like endless opportunities. But in the end, you get more creative, because when you exactly know what you can't do, then it open up like other doors where you actually wouldn't go through, you know?
We haven't talked. We talked about almost everything, but not the sound on this record. So
Yeah.
I want to get your point on some things, and I want to start off with the piano.
Yeah.
The piano sound throughout this record is outstanding. It gives this cinematic, religious vibe to the songs. It just makes the songs feel so big. It just creates such an incredible atmosphere. I fell in love. Not just with what the piano was doing, but the actual sound that it created and the atmosphere that it came from it. Do you see it as one of the integral parts of the soundscape of this album?
Yeah, totally. And we wanted a very, very special sound, a sound that no other person has. This is why we, in general, not just with the piano, we did it in general, we decided to not use any sound libraries that you can actually buy somewhere. So we did not get the MIDI keyboard and play it, and then we choose like a nice piano sound. What we did, we went to my old school where I was going to as a kid, and they have this huge concert hall and an even bigger stairway. And they have a grand piano there, which we mic'd like with close mics and some mics further away. And then some mics far back in the stairway, which did like a reverb tail of, I don't know, 15 seconds or something. And this is where we recorded the piano. So we said like, we want a real piano that no one else has. So if you listen to like lots of records from whoever band, there's not so many there's not so many opportunities to buy like very, very good grand piano software. So the chance that you listen to the same piano all over and over and over again is pretty big. We didn't want that. We did the same for church organ. We said we want a real organ. So a real organ is in a church. So we recorded organ in a church. We said we want real strings. So we went to Bulgaria and recorded real strings there. We said we don't want to use any drum samples that someone else has. And we wanted to mix the real live drum set with weird and huge samples. So what we did, we went to big places like huge parking garages, and we recorded like samples of all the drums that we had and made our own sample libraries, which we used. So the real drums were triggered by these samples. And we were always like choosing different kind of halls with different kind of long reverb tails for different parts of the songs or the song itself. So also we wanted a real choir, a choir that also can sing words, which needs people and not a software. So the only time you listen to like keyboard or synthesizer sounds on that record is when you actually hear electronic stuff. Everything else is 100% real. And this makes the album kind of exceptional because not many bands out there do that. They just put on a computer, they look for organ, oh, there's an organ, then they push play.
And this takes me to my next question, because listening to the album, I was so in love with your voice. I was so in love with the concept. I was so immersed into the lyrical content. Then you add this piano, you add this atmosphere, you adding all of these great things. And I felt like I was seeing something similar to Jesus Christ Superstar, but in an audio format. Like I was enthralled with everything. But then I realized that I felt perhaps that the drums and guitars kind of dropped a little bit into the passenger seat. I almost forgot that they were on the record. Do you see it that way as well? Like they don't have perhaps as much as a predominant role as they could have had, or as they had in the past, or am I missing something here?
No, this is totally right, and we intended it to be that way. This is why we used that huge reverbs all the time, because oops, sorry, just the audio fucked up here. I need to start record again, and I will edit that together for you. No, this is what we actually wanted. We wanted a drum sound which is super special, but not like too dominant. We didn't want that drums all the time, which kind of distract you, because when you produce a double record, you have to be careful with the nerves of the listener. And if you listen to like 110 minutes of white noise with the machine gun all the time, you're done after CD1. So we wanted to have the drums more like in the mix, actually. This is why we were choosing this huge reverb sounds. Same goes for guitars. We chose not to use any regular metal tube amps where you can actually play this typical riffs. We were only working with fuzz pedals of Game Changer Audio. They do this so-called plasma pedals. It's like a xenoplasma tube, actually, which like produces this weird kind of flashes inside, you know, it's electricity. You can really see that, and this electricity produces the distortion of the guitar, which sounds more like this, you know, it's something like that. So you can't even do a metal riff like try like a Rammstein riff with it, like it would only do. So you kind of have to relearn the whole instrument. So guitars get more like a big distorted pad, and you have to find a very, very, very different way to play it. This is why they sound differently, and it also kind of gives you less stress and gives you the opportunity to listen to such a long record. So everything about this record is different. We made everything different.
I want to go back a little bit to the lyrics, because I want to mention a couple of songs to you. One because of the lyrics, and the other one because of how it sounds. And the first one, "Death is Just a Kiss Away." Let me tell you, when I was listening to this song for the first time, I almost fell off my chair. When you said when the chorus kicks in and you sing "Death is just a kiss," I was like, oh, I get it. Oh, like it's just it touched me. It touched my soul. I mean, I know the story behind the kiss of Judas, but it's never been put forward in the way that you did in that song. For some reason, it just felt so personal to me. I stopped the track. I went to my son. I said, listen, you know the story? I broke it down to him. Okay, now that you remember the story, listen to this song. Because it had such a personal touch to me. Like it really did. Like it's a song that I get goosebumps every time that I listen to it. It's such a beautiful track. Like how did that track come together?
This is one of the tracks where I had the song title first. It just struck me one moment. I don't know when, I don't know why, but I just had this "Death is just a kiss away" thing. It was just there. And what I liked about it most, that it's also a track, the whole lyrics and the song title, which you can also understand if you don't know anything about Judas and Jesus. This can also be a love song, because for me it says something like, no matter how beautiful it is right now, it can be over next second. Because I don't know, you fuck up the relationship, or the other one dies, or whatever, something tragical, something stupid, whatever. It has this carpe diem, this use every moment kind of thing in it, but it also totally reflects this idea of the Judas and Jesus story and how it kind of ended, or how the end kind of started. So what I did for that track, I think it was Pi and me and one of our co-writers from our studio team. We sat down in this very room here, and this is one of the tracks that got written from start to end, on one day, in like 3 hours or something. We did like the entire track, and including lyrics, because we had the idea, and P was also Pi. Sorry, I always, in Germany you say P, but it's weird to say it in English, so I say Pi. Pi was like totally hooked with it. So we finished the lyrics the same day, and then I made the demo vocals for it, sitting here with that microphone on that very place, just with my headphones, not like in the recording room. I just did it here myself. The door was half open and whatever. No one was taking care because everyone was working. And I just sang it, and I liked it. I liked it so much. And then when I went into the final vocal recordings, I tried to get the feeling which I had in the demo, and I always fucked up. And so I always postponed the song to the next day and the next day. And then I had like the entire album, it was sung, and then I had this song left. So I did one more try, and I realized, fuck it, let's just use the demo vocals. So what you listen to here in this track, which makes it also so personal, is just my demo vocals, which I was singing in one take from start to end without hitting pause, and that's it. First try, first run, and that's super cool.
I'm with you. The thing about that song and those lyrics is that first, what touched me about it was the whole Judas thing. But then I realized that whole kiss, death is just a kiss away. It implies to so many things in life. Like if you kiss the wrong person that's not in the relationship with you, that could be the death of your own relationship with someone else. Like, I mean, there's so many other sides to that kiss. And I felt like because you guys didn't go down one specific path with it, that's why that song becomes so great. Because it's up to the listener to interpret that kiss in a very personal way. It allows that to be my own kiss. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. I like. I can just say yes. You're right. I see this. Thank you.
The next song I want to ask you before we go, I have a couple more questions for you, and that is Viva Vendetta.
Mm-hmm.
This track is incredible. I love the lyrics. I love the sound. It's such a great song, but the more I listen to it, the more I find myself going back into it because I discover something else and I gravitate to different. It's almost like every time I listen to it, there's different parts of the lyrics that I gravitate towards. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. How was this song from your perspective as it came together?
And what we first did there was just the music, actually. And while we were writing the music, I kind of, you know, what happens in the back of my brain is always like a little radio, which does things, and I just have to listen and pick things up, you know, I can't control it. And on this little radio in the back of my head, I just heard the words Viva Vendetta, and I was like, oh, that sounds so right. If you do an album about Judas, you have to have some kind of revenge song. And it fits so much to the song, because the song with the swingy feel, dang, dang, and this acoustic guitar has these Lonely Rider moments in it a little bit. So this is why I'm telling you right now here, we're going to shoot a Western video to it. So we just want a video with the Judas story, but in a Western look, in a like Wild West town in Germany, of course. We have towns like this here for tourists. So this just felt right. So we were like, okay, we really need this like very, very evil moment on the record, lyric wise, to have this revenge story for the Judas topic. And then first I thought the song might be a little, musically, it might be a little too happy for that kind of lyrics. But then the guys from the band, or one of the guys from the band, said, hey, that's actually the right thing. What we're doing here with this whole variety of meanings, it's actually a good thing, that the song kind of gives you hope, although it has such an evil story to it.
Evil story to it. Yeah. I love that part. Viva Vendetta, the bloodier, the better. I love that line. I just like, every time I hear that line, I'm like, yes, this is just incredible. You guys did an incredible job. Last question for you. There's a lot to digest from this Judas record. Is there something that you're taking away from this album on a personal sense that perhaps you rediscovered about yourself, or you didn't know you had it in you?
No, except for like my singing. I learned a lot here, because this record, because we had the choir, I didn't need to fill the whole picture with lots and lots of backing vocals. So it's at many moments on that record, it's really just one voice. In the verse, it's just one voice of me. So I really had to grow here as a singer and practice a lot. But like personally, I think it's too early for me to say, and it's too early for me to reflect on that. I always need a while after I finally recognize it. And the thing for me is, I mean, this album here is finished since March, but for me, I'm in the process until the time it finally gets out. So I can't close that chapter until release day, until it's shared with the world. And then I kind of start to reflect, I think. So if you ask me in 1 year, I might give you an answer.
We'll do that. I'll ask you in a year, hopefully at a live show.
Yeah, hopefully.
Well, Chris, thank you very much for your time today. I really appreciate it. All the best to you and the band with the release of Judas, July 2nd on Napalm
Thank
Records.
you.
It's a phenomenal album. Like, you guys are really setting the bar as far as concept records are concerned, and the amount of work across all parameters, the discs, the artwork, the lyrics, everything. It's just phenomenal. Like, you guys are really setting the bar really high, and I congratulate you and the band for it. And thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And I'm looking forward to seeing your review. Actually, I do not read reviews, or I do not listen to reviews, because I don't want to be influenced. But since I see this review as part of our conversation here, and I let you see all my thoughts, I want to do the same with you. So I'm looking forward to see that.
Wow, I'm honored, completely honored by you taking the time. Thank you, Chris. All the best.
Thank you. Bye.